Welcome back again. Kung Fu Discussion Group, Episode 4. Today's topic, the connecting and contact skills of Xingyiquan. Fun stuff, partner exercises. As always, I'm your Uncle Sickness. With me, Alex and Matt. Gentlemen, your handles. Where can the people find you?
You first.
Oh, okay. I'm Matt at Yoga Midnight. You can find me on Twitter. I'm more active on Instagram.
I'm Mako Decal on Twitter. I'm something else on Instagram. I forget what. Something long titanium.
Something about murder.
But you can definitely find me on Twitter. I'm much more active on there. Lots of fun posts.
Yes, excellent. The 100 Dark World Lessons series has been going really well. Pretty fun.
Oh, yes. Thoughts on the 100 Lessons of the Dark World. And there will be a 101st lesson, which will be encompassing everything that I've gone over and read through. And my final, it's a bit of a mix. It's going to be a mix of a conclusion, I guess, what I plan to do with it going forward, and what I've gotten from it. It's going to be the 101st lesson. That's going to be much longer than any of the individual lessons that I've put out so far that are on my website.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Me too.
Yeah, it should be fun. And that's this is all based on a chapter in Ivan Throne's The Nine Laws, Matt, if you haven't.
I haven't read it yet.
No. But yeah, it's been going on for a little while. I think it's like lesson 11 or 12, I think, maybe somewhere around there. It's still pretty early on.
Yeah.
But I think it's maybe number 12 posted earlier today. So, yesterday actually, because today is Sacred Kung Fu Saturday.
Indeed.
Among other unofficial holidays, if you know. Not the racist one though. But anyway, so connecting. A lot of martial arts have different terms for this sort of thing. Basically, anytime you make contact with an opponent and really establish, not a momentary, it's not the brief connecting like your fist connects with a part of their body or theirs with yours. Or another type of brief contact. They try to strike and you parry or deflect it lightly. Not that kind of connecting. This is connecting like I'd say minimum a second and a half to longer. Crossing at the forearms or physically making contact so that your center of gravity can influence their center of gravity. Obviously, the basic mechanical action of Xingyi, rise, drill, fall, overturn, comes into play here. The hands move up and down along the center line of the arm. They can drill, turn palm up, or overturn, turn palm down. That basic action applied to three-dimensional space, combined with the mechanical properties of the shoulders, waist, hips, and legs, opening and closing the chest and back, extending and contracting from the shoulder, which, Alex, I don't know if you've had a chance to experience this yet. I'm pretty sure Matt was going to know what I mean, whether he's heard these words before or not, but you can keep the arm in a relative position. The forearm and the upper arm can stay in a relative position, one to another, and the movement can come just from the shoulder, opening and closing the shoulder, raising and lowering from the shoulder without the rest of the arm or the hand itself actually moving. So
I'm familiar with the concept. I know I've done it a few times myself.
Yeah.
Mostly that was, interestingly enough, that was mostly done in I think I studied a little bit. I studied a couple classes in Jiu-Jitsu, and we did a little bit of that. It was very, very brief. It was like did for like a month. But that's where I caught that from. But I don't remember encountering any of that in Aikido, or much less McMap. And McMap is just about chaos and everything. But yeah, that's get that a little bit. But that's like it's just that one movement that I'm familiar with. But I'm sure that's applicable.
Yeah, you may remember it from some of the Bagua stuff.
Yeah.
It's they'll usually say you leave your hands out there.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, the structure you take with your arms, it's not the upper body structure as a whole. It's literally just the arms in relation to the torso.
Mm-hmm.
Move the torso around more, and the arms stay relatively. If you squared up, they would be completely even. But because you go on a diagonal, all of a sudden you have more of the classic triangle stance, triangle posture, triangle hands that you see in Bagua, either pushing or penetrating palm,
Yep.
So as an internal style, Xingyi is concerned with using the waist specifically. They'll say the body, but it's always specifically the waist to drive the actions of relatively fixed structures in the arms and legs. So in the legs, that's most obvious in when you assume Santi-Shur in Xingyi, the part where you bend your knees and drop your weight down a little bit. If you drop just a little bit or you drop a lot is irrelevant. The important point is that whatever height you sink to initially, that's the height you stay at for the duration of that particular practice session. So if you say like, all right, I'm going to do left Santi-Shur, I'm going to try and stand for 10 minutes. If you bend your knees just a little bit so that you're, a quarter of an inch, a half inch shorter than your normal standing height, okay, that's the relative height you stay at for the entire 5 minutes. If you go over the top and really want to challenge yourself, really build your muscles, and you get down low so that you're bending down to, the top of your head is a third of your body height lower than full standing, you stay there for the entire 5 minutes. That's the way it will manifest in the legs. It's a lot easier to understand in the legs because, gravity and body weight, you feel it immediately. Even a beginner, even somebody with no talent feels it the very first time. But with the arms, it's less obvious. So the structure that you take with your arms, you keep, and you would change mostly with your body. The only movements the arms end up doing is coming up a little bit, going down a little bit, turning palm down, turning palm up. Those would be the only things that the arm would really do. Everything else would come from the waist and, to a lesser degree, the hips and the shoulder girdle. The shoulder joints, shoulder blades on the back, chest on the front. So, again, like any martial art, the basic practice for a partner exercise is 2 people face each other. You decide, is it going to be left hand forward or right hand forward? If it's left, you both put the left out. You cross, about there at the wrist, just below the actual wrist joint. And you go from there. The classic millstone pushing, single pushing hands of Xingyiquan that's become so common and ubiquitous in martial arts practice. Xingyi has its version of that. But instead of, the weight rocking back and forth, from a backward weighted stance, kind of almost a Santi, to a forward weighted stance, traditional pure bow stance or mountain climbing stance. With Xingyi, you would keep it in a Santi-Shur stance. And what would change wouldn't be the structure of the legs, but the majority weighting. Does that make any sense?
Mm-mm.
So
Explain
staying
to
in a Santi-Shur stance with your legs, a normal Santi-Shur stance is going to be anywhere from 51 to 70% of the body weight on the back leg, the remainder on the front leg. So the coming forward, you don't extend forward by changing the stance. You would just change it so that the majority of your weight would be on the front leg. That phenomenon is really easy.
Oh yeah, like when you if I was doing P, if
Yeah.
I were to like kind of pause halfway, like cool.
Exactly. When you do the fixed step version, and
Yeah.
you pause for a moment, and you don't actually have half step, follow step, you just do like a normal stepping of the legs to change position.
Mm.
The way that front foot goes forward and plants, you're still relatively in a Santee stance with your legs, but now the front foot is swung out compared to where it would normally be. More weight is on that front leg than normal. So that's without changing the feet though in the partner exercise, that's the kind of thing you're going for. You're keeping it, say, a 60%, 40% divide. You start off with you're both 60% on the back leg, but you're connected at the wrist. Say if it's me and either one of you, if I initiate, I'll change by extending my waist to bring my hand forward toward you. 60% of my weight will go from the back leg to the front leg. My back leg will now be 40%. You can't move your feet. It's the very first level is fixed. You stay in place. So to accommodate the forward momentum of my weight and my arm extending into your space, you have to turn the waist and bring it back that way without physically withdrawing your body away from me with your legs. Does that make sense?
Can you say that again? Just the last part about the weight.
You have to use the waist to withdraw your body instead of using your feet, a step or a stance.
Cool. Yeah.
To remove your body. So withdraw that body as opposed to, move.
Yeah, you don't break stance and kind of like walk around in a circle, right? Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the stability of basic stance training still gets enhanced, but you start to get experience with using the waist to change the trajectory of incoming force and to accommodate incoming force, because they're kind of two different things. Once you get familiar with hand motions in a martial art, everybody can, even if they don't know the words, parrying, deflecting, blocking, intercepting, those are all pretty normal and natural things. You even see little kids do it. What's less common and is ultimately more valuable is changing the position of your body relative to an incoming force. Xingyiquan really emphasizes it and takes it to a very great degree for their soft neutralizing, where if you even try to put your hand on a good Tai Chi person's chest, they can withdraw. And it feels like, even though you can see that you touch them, you don't feel a solid contact. You know what I mean? There's that famous image from the Tai Chi classics that a fly can't land on you, because when the fly goes to land, you dip out from underneath it. There's a story of certain early Yang style masters. They'd hold a bird in the palm of their hand, and when the bird, you've seen birds take off to fly, they drop their weight a little bit, do a little hop up, flap their wings. When the bird would go to drop its weight to push off, they would just subtly neutralize, and the bird would go.
Awesome.
And it looks like, if you don't know what you're looking at, it looks like some kind of weird magic. But it's using a change in structure relative to an incoming force to neutralize the incoming force. So to put it a little more simply, I can take care of your strike coming at me by moving your strike out of the way or changing the angle between me and your strike, so that even though you're punching at me, you hit empty space. I'm not there.
You said changing what was the first one? Changing the angle and then
I
just
can change the trajectory of your incoming force.
Yeah.
You want to punch straight as a Bung Chuan, or chop vertically straight as a Pi Chuan. Okay, well, I can stand in the way of it and take it like a goof, or I can move out of the way and you chop empty air.
Sure.
You know, the highest level of skill is where it looks like you've hit me, but you haven't actually touched me at all. You know, that would be a super high level. And that's where,
because it's minimal, it's like a minimal shift.
It's so minimal that even though we're close enough to touch each other, we're within 2 feet of each other. You know, ideally, the opponent 2 feet away from you can't tell how much they missed you by. You know,
Awesome.
that's what you want to go for. They say it repeatedly in the the Xingyi theoretical documents. You want it to be marvelous. You want it to be magical. You want it to seem like some kind of spiritual, supernatural power. You know, let's make a comic book reference. The villain, one of the ultimate villains from Naruto, Uchiha Obito, he can remove parts of his body with his special, unique ability. So it looks like he can become intangible. Things seem to pass right through him. You kind of do something, a real world version of that. They think they're going to touch you. They think they're going to hit you in the chest. They think they're going to push you in the chest. They think they're going to hit you in the face. But you change the angle just subtly enough that they either exhaust their power by reaching full extension without actually touching you, or they make contact, but you move with that last bit of extension. So to them, to an outsider, it looks like they put full force in, but no force actually enters you. You don't take a hit. They just touched you very fast.
Is there a terminology for that encompasses those, like what has the appearance of magic tricks but actually isn't? You know what I'm saying? Because like there's been a couple, like a handful of experiences I've had since practicing Xingyi where just like in between moments I perceived that I could make a change, and then to somebody present it appeared like I did like Sith whatever. Yeah. But is there actually a terminology for what encompasses those tricks?
It'll vary from style to style. If you're familiar with the Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies set during the Boxer Rebellion, the spirit boxers and the pugilism experts, as they usually say in the translations, the people that did Iron Shirt, the people that did simulated spirit possession, the people that used like folk magic and folk religion in combination with boxing skills.
Cool.
That's the most common version of it. Most people are familiar with that. You'll see that sort of thing. But every style that's more advanced will have its own unique terminology for it. Xingyi, Bagua, and Taiji, it's acknowledged, thanks to the work of Sun Lutang, that they're all using the same mechanical concepts for it, but there's more similarity in the Xingyi and Bagua terms than with the Taiji terms. The Taiji terms are more unique. With Xingyi and Bagua, they're about 75-80% the same. They'll both use the same word and mean the same thing by it. The variation will be in the tactics they use in applying that skill or that concept. But Taiji has a lot of really unique terms that they use, and they're the only ones that use it. Even within Taiji Chuan, like the different family styles, Chen style, Yang style, Wu style, they're all pretty unique. There's some correlation in small groupings, like Sun Lutang learned from a guy named Hao. He learned from one of the Wus. There's 2 different Wu styles in Taiji Chuan. So Sun Taiji Chuan is like Hao style, and Hao and Sun are like Wu style, but they're not like Yang style. And the Wu in question, the founder of this Wu style, learned from the Yang family. So Wu and Yang are more similar than the offshoots of Wu.
Mm.
That makes sense. So, even though Xingyi is the oldest of these three styles, there's a lot more uniformity in the lines of teaching transmission. Pretty much everybody in Hebei is using the same terms. Pretty much everybody in Shanxi is using the same terms. And there's 85 or 90% overlap between Hebei and Shanxi overall. But there's a couple of unique things in Shanxi that Hebei isn't concerned with. There's a couple of unique things in Hebei that Shanxi isn't concerned with. So, like in Shanxi, they have the idea of the iron triangle.
I had to let my cat out. Sorry.
No problem. So I just said in Shanxi, one of the unique points they have compared to Hebei style Xingyi, they have the iron triangle. You'll know when you're practicing your Xingyi because you do a Hebei derived style. When that brief moment, you can actually make it a legit actual pause for a breath or two, where you're standing mostly with the weight on one leg and the other leg kind of suspended next to it. That transition between steps that is usually called the chicken stance.
Yeah.
They don't have that in Hebei. I mean, in Shanxi. They have the iron triangle. So when you take that half step forward in Hebei, you'll bring all your weight onto a one-legged stance. And then the back leg becomes the front leg. Shanxi, do that half step forward, you stay in Santisha. That's the transition. The transition is still, if you were starting left leg forward, it's still a left Santisha stance. And then in one motion, the rear right leg comes forward to become the front leg.
Fred, I have to take a second. Sorry, I need to go let the dog out.
No problem. We'll catch you up when you get back. The benefit to that is your footwork becomes quicker. Like you get a little more.
Doing the Hebei stat with the chicken stance?
With the Hebei style, you get more speed, but your stability and agility take a little bit of a hit. The Shanxi style, iron triangle, your speed is a little bit lower, but your stability and agility are higher.
That's interesting. Have you played around with both yourself?
Yeah. I use both at different times.
Interesting.
But because of my size and the normal weight I carry when I'm healthy, I tend to use the Hebei. I would use the Hebei version more because I can literally steamroll somebody that's smaller than me. So right now I'm 210 pounds. If somebody is 6 foot and 190 pounds, I can bowl them over with my extra 3 inches and extra 20 pounds. So, but if somebody is the same size as me or bigger, or if somebody is the same weight as me or heavier, I would use the Shanxi iron triangle on the legs because it'll give me more stability so I can generate more power with my body and kind of pop them off their root. I can uproot easier.
You get extra strength and stability. Do you have something on Uncle Sickness that I could check, like where I could check out the golden triangle, just for comparison?
I don't have anything personally written up, but I do have a resource I can point you in the direction of.
Cool.
I'll shoot it your way. An old website that hasn't updated in almost 15 years, ChinaFromInside.com.
Cool.
Yeah. The chair style after Magic Hand Li Loneng's first Xingyi student, Che Yizhai. from Shanxi. There, I think we went over this probably in maybe the first episode that we recorded. The two major branches in Shanxi are Che style and Song style. In Hebei, it's Guo style after Guo Yunshen, who what I teach is descended through, and Li style from Li Kunyi.
The and what was the other one?
Guo.
Free. Guo. Yeah.
Yeah. Sun Lutang learned originally from a student of Guo Yunshen, but also from Guo Yunshen himself. Guo Yunshen was the guy, you may remember this Xingyi story. He was so good at applying just the 5 fists that he didn't want to learn the animal forms. He didn't want to learn any of the partner routines. He didn't want to learn any of the longer solo forms. And he actually ended up beating a guy to death in a fist fight with just his Beng Chuan. He landed 1 Beng Chuan on this guy and killed him on the spot. Went to prison for 3 years. And he turned the normal Beng Chuan that he had learned into his famous half-step Beng Chuan. So when he came out, they called him.
It was even more deadly.
Yeah, they kept him shackled, kept his hands shackled, his feet shackled, and his hands manacled, and he came out more powerful. Is the story.
Awesome.
So he was a dickhead, and basically, like a local bandit was robbing a security escort firm, and these guys were losing. So Guo just involved himself in the conflict, and a couple of exchanges, bam, gets that 1 Beng Chuan to the chest. Bandit drops dead. Well,
you had to go to jail for killing a bandit. That sucks.
You go to jail if you killed anybody in Qing, China. You automatic death penalty. But people came to his defense apparently, and we're like, no, he's famous, he's too talented. We can't lose him. So they're like, all right, 3 years. So he gets 3 years, and he comes out a stronger fighter than when he gets in. But because he was a young dickhead, he comes out stronger. Whenever he needed money, when you need money, what do? Same thing I would do, same thing Alex would do. You either ask somebody who's got extra money, hey, can you spot me? Or you go work some extra work. Some extra hours at work. Not Guo. He found himself needing some money one day, so he shows up at the security escort firm that he had saved from this bandit. He just goes, the way I see it, you clowns don't have to work as hard anymore. Look at what I did. You owe me money.
I like this guy.
He would extort them whenever he was broke.
Yes, good.
Eventually, it gets back to Li Lonang, and people are like, you got to do something. Your boy's running us ragged. He's threatening us. He's gonna fucking, what's he gonna do? He's a lunatic. He already killed 1 guy. I don't want to be next. You gotta rein this guy in. So Li invites Guo back. He's like, I want you to finish your training with me. And he's like, yeah, belay that, old man. I don't need that. I'm already more powerful than, he talks all this shit. So Li's like, oh, it's like that? Okay, well.
Oh, shit.
I'd like you to go see my very first student, elder brother Che. Just talk to him. He'll let you know why you should do the next level of training. So he shows up to Che's house in Shanxi, all arrogant and, puffing his chest out like a typical tough guy, right off the bat. He knows, he takes one look at this kid and is like, I see how it is. So they're going back and forth, and Che is trying to be, Che's a guy approaching middle age. He's basically like my age, talking to somebody's Alex age. And he's like, yeah, you shouldn't be a fucking asshole. And Guo's like, nah, fuck, I do what I want. I'm the fucking best. My dick's like this big, da 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 da. Only thing bigger than my dick is my kung fu, running his mouth. So Che's like, let's spar a little bit, little brother. Guo's like, I like that. He gets all ready, he gets at his stance and he's doing his famous killer Beng Chuan, and Che's just like,
yeah,
dipping. No matter what, he can't get close enough. No matter how close he gets, he can't actually touch Che. And then after a little bit of this, Che decides, you know, to go on the offensive. So Guo comes in to hit him, and Che just pops around to his back real quick, Pichuan, and stops right next to his head. Like, now do you see why teacher wanted you to keep going? No matter how good you think you are, there's always somebody better. So Guo kind of like got over himself and was like, I was wrong, you were right. You're smart and I'm dumb. My
Awesome.
isn't bigger than my dick, and my dick's not big either. Like, you know, he humbled himself, and he went back and he learned, and he actually became, again, even more powerful than he had already been before.
Awesome.
So, and that's what our Xingyi is descended from, through Sun Lutang and a couple other.
Fuck yeah.
Obviously.
Guo Yushin was Sun's teacher.
Yeah, he was Sun's.
Cool.
Guo had a student named Li, unrelated to Li Lo Nang or Li Kunyi. That guy was best friends with a calligrapher that Sun Lutang was apprenticed to, learning like cultural stuff. So he kind of saw Sun one day and was like, yeah, you know, your boy's talented. Like, he's not just like smart, he also has physical talent, even though, you know, he's not big, but he's actually pretty good at what he knows. So, you know, like, let me teach him. And, you know, Sun's boss was like, oh, that'd be an honor. So he learned Xingyi from this guy for like 3-4 years. And then at one point he proved himself so capable that his teacher was like, I'm going to see my teacher. Why don't you come on back and meet grandpa? So he introduced him to Guo Yunshen.
Cool.
You know, they both got training. And when Li left to go, you know, continue his life, at this point, Sun's like 16, 17, been learning Xingyi for a few years. He stays with Guo and gets full-time training. So he's technically a student. He's technically a student of his teacher, but also a student of his teacher's teacher. That makes
cool.
sense. Like,
Yeah.
if I bring you to learn, either you to learn Xingyi from the guy that taught me Xingyi, you're my student.
Master Yang?
So my classmate in a weird way, but it's like
Cool.
chicken and egg, you know? So,
Are you going to see it? You should see him at some point. Have you ever thought about, he's in California, right?
Dr. Yang's in California. Actually, one of Dr. Yang's older students, a guy named Tai, he's the one that taught me Xingyi. So it's exactly that situation. We're classmates under Dr. Yang for things like Tai Chi Chuan and Qigong and meditation and stuff. But Tai's my Xingyi teacher. And I have seen Tai I haven't seen him. The last time I saw him was when I had sepsis. So it's been over 10 years.
Mm.
Yeah, obviously most of my group of Xingyi people are not really in the Boston area anymore. A little less than half of the group is still there, but only 2 or 3 of them are still practicing Xingyi regularly. And then I'm part of the other half that's kind of dispersed all over the rest of the country. So yeah, it's been a while. Last time Tai saw me, I was literally a skeleton wrapped in dry gray parchment. So
awesome.
And I remember the last time I saw him, I was like, hey, how's it going? And he was like, you know, I was like 220 pounds the previous time he had seen me, you know.
Yeah.
The Brad that you first met, Matt, the big, mean, just like scowling all the time at everybody, you know, punching my hand into my fist into my palm. And that was me being nice. You know, he remembers that Brad. Then he saw like weakness hands, Brad. My hands in Tyrannosaurus mode all the time. I was like, hey, all winded just from walking over there. Hey, how's it going? He's like, what happened to you? I haven't seen him since then. So if you're watching this time, I'm healthy again. I'm back to being an asshole. Yeah, so the contact skills, different than establishing a connection, is what you do once you're already in contact. I don't know. You should. I mean, I know we've talked about this before, but something on sickness kung fu. Xingyi's 4 methods of boxing. like 4 categories of hand techniques for fighting. The first one is punching, obviously. The second one is Xiaoling, raising and leading, so sort of intercepting and deflecting type skills. Third one is eagle seizing, grabbing skills, locking, chin na, that kind of stuff. And the fourth is sticking hands. So once you establish contact by intercepting or grabbing them, how do you maintain that contact? The further, like deeper version of that is the other way. So basic sticking is I reach out at you, you try to get away, I don't let you break contact. I'm sticking to you. The other side of it is you reach out to touch me, you make contact, you realize it's a bad idea and try to get away, I don't let you break contact. That's adhering. So there's 2 different words in Chinese, Zhan and Nian. They basically both mean sticking, but one implies sticking something onto another thing. The other one implies something gets stuck to an object because the object is sticky. So sticking or adhering is an easy way to differentiate it in English. But they all go under, in Xingyi, under sticking hands. So that's contact skills. Once we're in contact, what do we do? And it's just like we were talking about before with the connecting skills. You use relatively fixed structures driven by body motion to change relative positions in space. So once we touch at the forearms, you try to break contact. How do I use my body? This involves a lot more footwork because you have to use footwork to keep in touch with people most of the time. So it's that kind of thing. If I get my hands on your chest and you try to hollow your chest out or pull your body back or step away, how do I keep my hands on you so all I have to do is put out some force to upset your balance? Those are sticking hand skills. And that's I'm trying to contain my excitement. Like I don't want to make the crazy eyes any more than I normally would.
Yes.
In partner exercises, you have to go through all the relatively tedious basic, you have to build up good habits. You have to build up the habit of properly making contact before you start to play with what happens once we're touching, that's the stuff that like I need, and in my personal practice, that's the stuff I need to work on the most. And it's the hardest thing for me to work on because I'm 6'3", I have a beard, and I do crazy eyes when martial arts practice happens. So a lot of people are like, stay away from me, psycho. And I'm like, no, plus the creepy shit I say about it, become a body for my human experiments.
Awesome.
I'm going to use you for my own purposes.
I was thinking two questions, because these are things that I had thought about that I had wanted to ask you about anyway, just in terms of like approaching partner exercises. Would it be practical at all to like do like a shadow boxing type thing with it, or is that too complex to be like really feasible, without a lot of practice? And then the other one was like, can you teach somebody enough of, say, like Anshin Pao, where it's like, maybe they don't like, maybe they don't even practice Xingyi, but can you like teach somebody like the ballet to the extent where you can actually like gain from going through it?
Well, actually, there's kind of one answer to both of those questions in a weird way.
Cool.
The solo routines. That's a very Chinese way of practicing what in Western boxing is shadow boxing, the way most people understand it. It's you and you're doing fist fighting techniques, but the opponent is in your mind.
Yeah.
instead of you're facing off with another person. As far as teaching like a partner set, there are branches in Hebei specifically that they take Anshan Pao, you know, attacking side and defending side, the two sides of the form. And they just put the defending side on the end of the attacking side. So you do it like the solo routine, like Zashi Chui, like Bashi Chuan, like Lian Huan Chuan, like the solo routines. You go through the techniques of Anshan Pao alone.
You do the attack version, and then you would do the defense version, and then repeat. Yeah.
Just like if you're doing it with another person. If you start off as attack and I start off as defense,
Awesome.
get to the end of your motions, and I get to the end of my motions, I immediately, the next thing I do after the last defending motion is I do the first attacking motion that you started off with, and you do the first defending motion I started off with. So we go back and forth like that. It's the same thing. You're literally just doing like, all right, I'm by myself, but I'm going to do 2 rounds of Anshan Pao.
Cool.
I'm going to do both sides alone. You just do it like a form. There's a famous sword form in northern Chinese martial arts, Sansai Zhang. One of the practice variants for Santi-share is calling it Sansai share.
Yeah, we were talking about this last time. I don't know if it might have. I don't know if it was under the recording at the time.
We did. We were talking about that last time. So Sansai sword, and that is notable. And people assume that it's a Xingyi, derived from Xingyi, because you learn the solo form. Okay, you get good at that. Then the teacher comes up to you, and you both have a sword or a wooden practice sword, and he says, start to do the form. So you attack the teacher with the first movement of the form. The teacher's response is the first movement from halfway through the form. And they match that way, just like what I just described of Anshan.
Cool.
So you can do that. Shadow boxing is a perfectly good way of developing practical boxing skill, shall we say. It's not just like a foundational plot element from every decent to great kung fu movie, where you take some fool and he practices alone in the woods for like a year and then comes back unstoppable. That's literally real. That's actually how it works. You spend most of your time practicing alone. Your ability to overcome an opponent or opponents comes from what you do when you practice alone. But your comfort level with overcoming one or more opponents comes from the partner training, So one of my problems when I was young, and also when I was first starting Xingyi and Bagua, is I had no problem staying in a fight mindset during, application training or partner exercise training. My problem was I was getting lost in the excitement of a real fight, which is no good when you're training with your friends and classmates. You're not supposed to take a shot at your training partner like you're taking a shot at someone who's trying to kill you. So the problem was I'm training with smaller, older, weaker, less experienced guys, say, and I'm coming in like a fucking, like a monster. 25-year-old Brad coming in to break a guy. There was one incident in particular where I almost punched a 55-year-old man in the balls as hard as I could.
Oh, wow.
That was the technique in Anshan Pao. But I got caught up in the moment and my bloodlust started to leak out. So
cool.
I almost hit a really good person who was friendly with me, good to me, nice to me, my friend. I almost hit him in the balls like he was trying to steal my wallet. So, partner exercise, for somebody with no fighting experience, partner exercises are to teach them how to fight. But the real point of partner exercise is to teach you to keep that same cool, calm, collected psychologically aware and physiologically efficient state that you cultivate in the solo practice? How do you take that over to somebody is putting pressure on you and chaotically attacking you in random ways? You know, because it's easy to be cool. Again, we've talked about this recently, that famous video from last spring from China. The bullshit Taiji master is challenged by the insane MMA guy.
Oh, I didn't realize that was so recent. Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically, it was almost a year ago. Almost a year ago.
Guy was a fucking asshole, though. I don't know why like beat up the old man like that.
So well that I have magic power to alter the universe. It's like, get away
Oh,
from me.
is that what the guy was claiming? Was he like?
That's why the MMA guy was so gung ho. And why, like after he lands that first punch, you just see him like he's so pumped up. Yeah, well, partner training on the one hand is so that you aren't a self-deluded fool like the Taiji man, but the real point, so you're not a fucking monster like the MMA man.
Sure.
So, you know, obviously, nowadays we're living in an era where there are more people who are afraid of conflict than there are people who get lost in and revel in conflict. I mean, I'm working my ass off trying to keep myself under control here, and I can see my own picture in the video, and I've got crazy eyes right now. They're just not as crazy as they would, you know, if the three of us were in the same room. My eyes.
That's part of it. That's part of the training.
Yeah, it's a really important part, because if you're a more aggressive type of person, you know, I don't remember. I mean, I know I've told you both the story of my very first kung fu teacher, the guy that said to me, you know, as a freshman in college out in Worcester, I'm going to do you a favor. You're an asshole and you're going to get yourself killed, so I'll teach you. And I was like, well, thank you. You know, I was an over aggressive asshole, and he was right. I would have got myself killed if I didn't learn how to control he wasn't teaching me how to fight. I could already fight. He was trying to teach me how to control myself. So, you know, that's one reason why I like to say to certain people, you know, if you've got a bit of the fire in you like me, Matt, like, yes, I will help you not get Matt killed.
Yep.
Whereas with you, Alex, it's more like, I'm gonna make you hurt people, boy.
It was funny. Actually, at a previous job, this was before this was long after I had stopped studying Aikido, and I kind of weaned off of studying McMap. And this was also long after I studied just a teeny bit of ninjutsu for like a month. I was at this job, and I got the bug eyes of bloodlust, and this one dude wanted to start a fight with me. I was working security at a department store. This older guy, he was like early 50s maybe. He was yelling at me for something. I forget what, but I was like, we had myself and my two coworkers and one of the detectives just finished picking up this dude. And I had slapped handcuffs on him. We were dragging him into the store again. And this dude comes up to me. It's just like pointing his finger at me. And I forget what he said. And I was kind of like giving this look of like being, you know, the 23-year-old me, like, the fuck do you want, or something like that. And he just goes, okay, you want to go? And I kind of was looking at him like, kind of like, go, like, I seriously went, go where? That was my actual response was, I can't go anywhere, I'm at work. So he puts his arms up like this. He goes, okay, you want to go, kid? And I was like, he wants to fight me. Yes. And then I realized, I am on camera right now. If I fuck up this dude, I am so fired. Maybe I shouldn't. I want to, but I shouldn't. But I had this look of like, I really want to fight this guy. So I was like, yeah, no. And I went back inside. And I was basically sitting in the break room like this, just like my whole, tilt the camera down a little bit so you can see me a little bit better. My whole body was like, My coworker's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. Are you okay? Yeah, fine.
Yep.
I just really passionate opportunity, you know? He goes, you wanna call somebody? I'm like, no, don't call anyone.
Walking up and down the lawn gallery, opening and closing the fists, licking the lips, and staring at everybody. Not blinking nearly enough.
Oh, yes.
One of my personal favorite threats from the museum era. I'll grab you by the collarbone, pick you up off the ground, and rip your goddamn chest off. Touching my fucking art. God, that was like the only good thing about that job. Walking up to people like a complete lunatic and saying 100% pure comic book villain lines. I will scour your bloodline from the earth.
Awesome.
Not that anybody caught a kid trying to make a penis out of gum and stick it on one of the statues.
Oh, I remember that.
Which one? There were like 5 incidents.
Oh, really? There were several. I remember at least one of them. I feel like we got in trouble for that or something. I feel like they like tried to like flip it around.
Trying to pin it on you guys?
I don't know, like where they were just sort of like, well, this is why you guys have to really do your job or something. I just remember that it was like, I don't know. Anyway.
Don't let them touch the art, but you're not allowed to be aggressive with them. Well, what am I supposed to do? Feel emotions toward them strongly from the other side of the room? Like,
yeah.
That's not going to stop them from picking off Rembrandt's mustache. What do you want?
Couché.
With that, for the ancient Pao, Sun Lutang's book articulates the practice, right? Like is that I could just reference that in order to like learn the choreography for it.
Yep, it's in there. There are some variations in Anshan Pao, not just between Hebei and Shanxi, but also within Hebei, within different, teaching lines, within Shanxi in different lines. There'll be some variations in the choreography. Because, like, obviously, there's personality differences, size differences. So there are technique preference differences from people to people, using the 3 of us as an example, Alex and I are fairly similar in like physical size, but Alex still wouldn't apply Xingyi the way I would because our temperaments are different enough.
Awesome.
Matt's, me and you are pretty different, but we've got similar temperaments. So you're more likely to actually use the techniques and the tactics that I use. Whereas even though Alex has the same size as me, he's probably going to use a couple of different ideas in the way he come at somebody. Because, when I punch somebody in the chest, ... I really do want to see them spit up blood. I really do want to see somebody on their knees and not able to fight. I've like very much internalized the Xingyi idea of like, if you've seen that movie A Bronx Tale, the bikers go into the Italian social club and they start getting rowdy. The gangsters leave politely and they won't leave. Then they lock the door and they're like, now you can't leave. And they beat them all with baseball bats. Like that's the mentality I have in the way I use Xingyi. I'll try once. I don't want to fight you. Fight me. Now I'm going to make you go to the hospital. And I'm going to that's, I don't see Alex. Like Alex, I don't see you doing that unless you lost your temper with somebody. Where completely emotionally neutral state, I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm going to send you to the hospital, just because it's 75 degrees out today, whatever,
Since we've left the museum and a couple times working at, to be perfectly frank, a couple other establishments, I have done that. I haven't locked the door because I didn't have the key with me, but I was like, I'm going to send you to the hospital if you don't fucking leave right now. Yeah. I did rough somebody up actually a little bit, and it wasn't good. He walked away from it, unfortunately. But if you don't follow my simple instructions,
right? Yeah. I'm sure it wasn't the corner mall.
That was one of them.
Me to the kid. You're banned forever. 1 week later, the kid comes walking in, big chest. All of a sudden, the shadow of my hand appears. What happened? They dump him over my leg hard. Get out of my mall. It's called the corner mall, but it belongs to me, even though I don't own it.
Awesome.
So,
I kind of want to go. I kind of want to apply to. So one of the security companies around here, one of the really big ones.
Mhm.
It went from STI, I think it was, to the big one that I was working for, to this new one, like over the course of like a few years.
Yeah.
Because this smaller one that had it originally had it for years. They had the contract for the corner mall for years.
Mhm.
Then it went to this big one, awful place, and they had it for like a couple of years. And then after that, like I was out of touch at this point. They dropped the contract, or they told them to piss off. And then this other company bought the contract, and now they're working at that place, trying to keep that place barely tolerable for the folks that work up in the upper offices in the top building. And I actually swung by there the other couple weeks ago, actually, just to meet up with one of the managers I was working with. And I was looking around, and I was just like, I want to fight somebody now.
Yeah.
And they had these goofy dudes standing by the door, and I was looking around. I was like, "The fuck are you guys doing? You're supposed to be guarding this place?" And they're like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm sure you have no idea." And I went and found the manager, and he's actually working for the company that owns the building now, because we were both working for the same security company. And he was like, "Oh, hey, kid." And I was like, "Yeah." And we hung out for like 5 minutes before I had to run off. But yeah, that was a fun time. I missed the corner mall.
I walked up to my crew chief at the corner mall after I'd been there for about a month. And I was like, "You see this kid standing on the table in front of the McDonald's?" He's like, "Yep." I'm like, "I want to go over there and grab him by the ankles and just throw him off the table." And he was like,
Yes.
I kind of looked, I was like, "I just said I want to really hurt that person." He was like, "Yeah, that's fine. Just don't get hurt. Make sure
Just don't
come
what?
from this angle so the camera can't see you do it." And I was like, walked right over, they're four-headed over.
Did you do it?
He hits the
Yeah.
table, he goes in the ground. As soon as he popped up, my hand was already like more than 80% of the way to his face. Grabbed him by the forehead, threw him outside. "If you ever come back, I'm going to crumple you up into a ball and put you in the garbage can." And that was my stop at the corner mall. Certain people, I'd point at them, I'd point at the garbage, and I'd start to nod my head yes. If they didn't turn around and leave, I'd put my hands up like this, and I'd start to walk towards them very menacingly. That's also the place where I actually said to a group of high school kids that had cut school, "You're trapped down here with me." And one of them had actually read The Watchmen, so he realized what comes next in that scene, and was like,
Oh, cool.
"We should go, guys." You should really go. You should go now.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to do much of the stuff to that extreme there, but there were a couple people that really roughed up over there. But I wasn't. I did bring up, like, at one point with one of the managers, like, in the same way, not in the same way you did, but there was this one guy that was being a real pain in the ass. He was one of the homeless guys that always came in,
Yeah.
and was eating food off the floor. And I was like, "What the fuck him up?" I was like, "I want to go beat the fuck out of that nasty thing." And he
Totally.
goes, "You're not allowed to do that." And I was like, shit. That was, oh. I went up to that dude a bunch of times, and I was like, "Get the fuck out.
Hey,
Get out."
No, you're not looking.
And everyone, there were a couple of people that thought I was a Russian spy, and I was like, "Blyat, get out!"
I got accused of being a robot mannequin because I would
What?
stand perfectly still.
You some kind of mannequin?
And then I would just suddenly turn to people and be like, don't do that. And they'd be like, oh my God, it's alive. It's like,
I was-
sitting here, my eyes bugging out of my head, my nostrils flare, and you hear me breathing all heavy and aggressive, muttering to myself, I fucking hate him. I'm going to kill him.
When I was shaving my head, I was shaving my head and my face. I stood perfectly still in this one department store, and I didn't move. And someone was looking at my footwear, like they wanted to buy it, and I looked. I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And they jumped so high, like they were crouched. They jumped, slipped, and landed on their ass, going like this.
Yes.
Oh! Making weird noises. Oh! Oh my god! I had to fucking take a seat and laugh. I was like,
That's
"Dude,
great.
Get away from me!"
What wonderful memories.
Yep.
Fuck's sake, who is that?
Yeah. When people blink, you step into the spot they were looking at. So when they open their eyes,
Yeah.
one of my
exactly.
favorite moves at every security job is to just wait for them to blink and then move. You heard some of my stories that are your favorites, Matt. Bryroy stories. That was my number one thing with that kid toward the end of the time we knew each other in college. Every time he'd do one of his exaggerated Adderall fueled, 140-second blinks, I would just step into his blind spot. He'd be like, where'd he get? Oh, dude, and freak out.
Awesome. Yeah. Fuck yeah. That's like the Sith stuff I was talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
The man called Tubbs, when he would blink, if he would blink for too long, I would just hold my fist right in front of his nose. So he'd be like, already jerk. I think I hurt myself. Well, that's because you're fat. Fun stuff. See, and that kind of quickness comes from being able to keep cool in a pressure situation. The calm, to bring it back to a more serious topic so we're not just talking shit here. The calm, collected, centered mindset you develop in the solo practice, you learn to have it at will or as needed with people through the partner exercises. So
cool.
At first, it's important that you spend a certain amount of time practicing according to the rules so that you can build up the right habits for the particular exercise at hand. Alex, I would be very strict with you about only do what's in the rules for this level of this particular exercise. With Matt, you've got enough experience that it's more of like let's have fun. Surprise me if you can, and I'll see if I can get one on you. Because I've said this a lot in a lot of different types of conversations. Freedom doesn't come from no rules. Freedom comes from deliberate action in a field defined by boundaries and rules. So you can't really explore free creative expression until you learn the limits of what you're dealing with. It can't just be a free-for-all, because a free-for-all is a real fight. And what's a pure beginner going to do against an experienced long-time practitioner in a real fight? They're not going to do anything except block everything with their face.
Right.
It's not productive for a beginner. So it's always better to stick to the rules at first, to be really meticulous, focus on the details, make sure you get everything exactly right. It's harder to do it perfectly, but the benefit in the long run is so much greater. You don't get to indulge yourself at first, but after 2 years of doing these partner exercises meticulously, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, in whatever order. it's only been about a year since I had the operation to fix my guts. And even though my physical strength isn't back up to where I want it to be, I'm already back at a level where, you know, I can just put a hand up and say, do whatever you want. You know, my reaction time is back. I can't run as fast as I used to, but, you know, my footwork is there.
Cool. You can see it in your countenance. Your face looks more like yourself. You know?
Thank you. Yeah,
Your
I think
cheekbones aren't so harshly defined that I can see your freaking eye sockets.
that was the worst part.
Oh my god! I was just like, when I saw you, when I came to swing by to visit you, I was like, oh, I need to bring this guy to the hospital right the fuck now. But they are not going to be able to help him. He's going to sit there in the ER like,
Yeah, having to
you
listen to
guys
the
can't
stories.
help me. I was like, that's all I could see in my head. Like, I gotta do something.
Well, you know, there was the home remedy that I was doing, if you know what I mean. So, yes. So, connecting skills, contacting skills, Xingyiquan. Everybody knows about Xingyi's powerful punches, but if you don't have the connecting skills, they're pretty useless, to be honest. So, and especially with the way that Xingyi is structured, there's absolutely no excuse for somebody to have more than 3 years of practice in the style and not be able to use it. Even with, you know, the differences, shall we say, in the modern world, with people being pathetic soy boys, should still, after 3 years, be able to at least defend yourself on a basic level from one other person if you've been studying Xingyi. That particular individual that I like to mock, he's got like 8 years of Xingyi, still can't fight worth a lick. Still, you know, the last time I spoke to him, I still regularly have that dream. I land a lot of punches, but they're completely weak and powerless, and I'm full of fear that I'll fail. It's like, you fucking dork.
Yes, he gave you the dream.
I was fucking 9. So, you know, but bullying people over the internet aside, that there's no excuse for that. Even with not having the amount of free time to dedicate to training and practicing and honing the skill as they did in the 19th century, early 20th century, you still should be able to defend yourself after the first couple of years. You know, there's no excuse for being a Xingyi practitioner, intercepting a playful strike, and having that other person not go, ow, that hurt. Oh, I think you bruised my arm, you know? One of the Xingyi ideas. Whether you hit me or not, every time you touch me, it hurts you. Which, one thing specifically that I wanted to talk about at the beginning of all this, when I mentioned rise, drill, fall, overturn, the importance of the drilling and overturning aspect is that in other styles, when you intercept, you just intercept. You know, you block, you just block. You put the limb up. But with Xingyi, you don't just put the limb up. Even if I'm going to end like this, I come up like this.
Yeah.
So that there's that turn. In finishing the motion and assuming the final structure, there's still a rotation on the center line of that limb. That action is called biting. That's really important in Xingyi because that's how you get the quality I just mentioned. You take a shot at me, I intercept your shot. You walk away hurt. Not only did you not hit me, we only touched forearms, but now your forearm is bruised, and you're going, what the fuck? That's an important quality in Xingyi. That's part of Xingyi's hard power. I don't just put hard power out into my opponent. I am hard. So if the opponent manages to get a glancing blow on me to any degree, it's like getting glancing blow on a rock. Most people, if they hit a rock lightly, it's still going to hurt them. They hit a rock hard, it's going to break their hand. You want to be the same way. Somebody hits you lightly, somebody goes to hit you and you deflect it, just kind of casually intercept. You want them going, ow, what was that? Or if they really try and hit you, you really put it into, you want a big bruise on that arm afterward. You want a big bruise against them. So, fun stuff. After we're finished recording here, I'm actually going to write up. I did some research beforehand to not just have, ideas to discuss here with you two today, but also stuff to write something up on this. So in addition to the normal kind of
Oh, cool.
summation post for the video, there's also going to be an article connected to it that's going to
Awesome.
talk about some of the stuff in a little more detail than we've had a chance to go over.
Can I ask you a question? What was the fourth kind of contact? Because you said there is sticking, grabbing, punching. What was the third, the second one that you mentioned?
Raising and leading, basically like intercepting and kind of deflecting.
Yeah.
So parrying with the hands.
Fuck out of here. Type,
Like,
right?
I bring the hand up to intercept a straight attack against the front of my body. And then what do I do to sort of not just cross the line of the attack, but also change the trajectory, so that instead of coming directly at me and abruptly stopping, the opponent is still going forward, but now they're going forward off to one side or down or up, because it's not just enough to get a connection from intercepting. You also want to create an opportunity to counterattack.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's where the leading aspect comes in. The chow, the raising, is you're raising your hand to intercept Jay, the other person. The leading, ling, is you want to lead. If they're coming in and they're punching directly straight at you, directly at the center of your chest, it's going to be easier to go left or right. If they're chopping at you, they're coming from above to below. It's going to be easier to kind of come up from below and put them off to the side. If they're punching a little bit lower, like they're trying to punch you in the belly, it's going to be easier to come down from above.
Yeah.
Get it that way. So you would lead a punch that's already tending down, you would lead it down further. That would then open up their upper body, their face and chest.
Awesome.
Doing a punch like a Zhuan, it's coming up from below. You want to raise that punch.
Up, yeah.
So you're opening the lower part of their chest and their belly and crotch. Get it? So there's opening and closing. What do you open and close? A door. Doors move like this, laterally. So you close that arm off on them, you're getting it across their chest, opening up everything over here on the outside. A further step in closing is getting that arm against their body and pinning it there. You're
Cool.
sealing it so they can't use it anymore. Like sealing an envelope. Closed. Completely shut off. There's also, there's not just opening and closing doors. There's opening and closing windows. That would be vertical, So close it off. This is open. You close down. The upper section is open. You close up, the lower section is open.
Cool.
So those sorts of tactical ideas are what you want to build up in the contact skills. Once you're already connected, like I said before, what do you do with a connection to the other person's body once you make it? This is what you do with it. You find a place to attack. Preferably, you use some of the concepts that I just listed so that you're protected, but they're exposed. The ideal, the absolute extreme, 100% perfect, idealized situation is my vital points along the center line, eyes, nose, throat, solar plexus, genitals, completely protected, and you cannot attack them no matter what. But your vital points along the center line, they're all open, and I can turn them to putty at will. That would be the ideal. So that's what the contact exercises and the skills they develop are for. Once we're touching, how do I make it so that I can get you in the face, but you can't get me in the face? I close that door. I seal that arm. You can also open and close, seal and restrict with the legs as well. If I kind of step in and hook my lead foot around the back of the ankle of your front foot, I've closed off your ability to retreat, to withdraw that front leg, or to advance with that front leg. Because if you do it right, the shin, your shin and knee, close off their shin and knee. If you do it wrong, they can't easily lift their leg up and step back or pull their leg back in a shuffle motion, but they can still shuffle forward and come further into your space. As a short range style, Xingyi likes to do that. You've both heard me say the safest place to be in a fight is in close. Most people, they need those big flailing motions for any sort of power. So if you're inside the length of their upper arm, inside the elbow, they've got no power, because your power is derived from the structure and the mechanical action of Xingyi, rise, drill, fall, overturn. You can get in that close. Even if they hit you, it's like getting hit with a pillow in a pillow fight. Meanwhile, you give them a pouch one, and they swim blood.
I've had a lot of casual use of that principle of applying Xingyi force to different parts of the body. Like if somebody gets too close to me, if I'm walking and somebody it's a fucking dickhead, he did this weird faux elbow up, and I got him in the heart. Just dude. And then he stopped, and I stopped, and then he kept walking. It's but that's sort of or the head, just in terms of moving around. I love that Xingyi has that ability to articulate at points that people don't normally think of.
7 fists.
Yeah.
Hands, elbows, shoulders, feet, knees, hips, head.
Head, yeah. I did that the other day too. This fucking guy got too close to me. I was just like, the fuck, I get the fuck out.
And then they also divide, again, according to other principles, and you ultimately get 7 fists, 91 strikes.
Awesome.
That's a document on Xingyi. That's on sicknesskungfu.com. You can check out.
Wait a minute.
Yes,
How do you hit somebody with your head without getting knocked out?
Oh, when you have good structure, good structure and a nice strong neck.
Oh,
this part of your head.
Yeah, that part.
The problem that most people do when they headbutt is they're trying to use this part. This is the hardest part of your skull. Okay? Unless you're my friend Paul, he can take this part of his head and rail any one of us in the hardest part of our heads, and we are going down like a sack of potatoes, even me. Because he's conditioned his neck and his head for that. That's one of his special, congenital skills. That's unique to Paul. I'm never going to be able to do that, and nor would I want to,
Conditioned through fights or through actually
literally from his childhood. He's been just
cool
working on the head strike. Like
Yeah.
again, kung fu movie, like a Shaolin monk that had iron head skill.
Mhm.
Paul has iron head. That's why, like, I play throw chops at the neck and throat. I would stop and not hit either of you. With Paul, I will chop him in the neck or throat, and it will mean nothing, because even if I put enough force in it that would stun or knock over a normal person, with him, it's like a playful, like you're play fighting with your girl, and she gets you with a little one in the face, and you're like, oh, you actually, yeah, that meant nothing to me because you're smaller. Yeah. Well, even me, I can backhand people and they fall over. I backhand Paul and it'll be like, what are you trying to kiss me? It means nothing to him because he's that well conditioned for that type of contact. But for any one of us, if you're going to headbutt in a fight, you want to drive that hardest part into the center of somebody's face or into the side of their head or dead in the chest. And you don't want to swing the head with the neck the way you would swing the fist with the arm or swing the foot with the leg. You
Just
want to
take this whole part and just
you keep that structure, and the body just drives your forehead
Yeah.
into them. That's how, just like Matt described, you use the body, you drive that head bone. I mean, it sounds ridiculous to say it like that, but that's what it is.
Yeah, it ripples up, like, so no matter where you're applying the force, it goes, end point.
It's the hammer principle. You've used a hammer to hammer in a nail. Yeah, this is the hammer head. Your torso, your spine is the handle. Your hips are their hand. The hand swings the handle, makes the hammerhead connect with the target. Your hips swing your spine. The head connects. It's not loose like a whip, like a bull whip or a rope. It's stiff. Bam. It's the weighted end of a stiff shaft. So yeah, 91 fists. 91 strikes. Well, it can
No,
be
stop. Get out of here.
7 fists, 91 strikes. That's a good Xingyi document to check out because it breaks down, directional variations, height variations. It's that kind of stuff. You have 3 levels of height: upper, middle, and lower. You have, 5 directions in space. You have 7 parts of the body to strike with. When you multiply that out, it comes out to 91 total potential strikes. So, unfortunately, that does imply that there's the gross possibility of headbutting somebody in the dick.
I never want my face that close to somebody's dick.
Exactly. But if you're being well-rounded and you're taking the systematic thinking, logical conclusion. Upper, middle, lower. The lower isn't going away just because you don't get off on it. It's still there. It's still a vital target. So you don't have to use it. I wouldn't recommend it, but let's say
Yeah, I mean, why would you be down that low? But if you're right then, it might be.
If you do find yourself down that low, you are prepared to take advantage of the situation and the opportunity presented to you. So, yeah. The hard part in learning martial arts, in teaching martial arts, dealing with the average person, is convincing them. Yeah, you may have won some schoolyard scuffles out of pure luck, but there's a reason they call it the science of boxing. There's a systematic, legit, I can use physics to prove to you that even somebody small can beat someone my size or bigger. There's a way. There is a method that you can use. And it's hard sometimes to convince people to get over their fantastical preconceptions. No, you are not jumping to the top of that building like Gordon Liu. in all of those awesome Shaw Brothers movies. No, you are not running up that wall like that woman in, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. You're not doing that.
And you're not going to go Super Saiyan just because you got angry, you know?
Yeah. No,
Your
you're not
hair isn't
gonna
going to
go
turn
super
gold and grow
natural.
longer.
You're gonna pop a vein in your head and you're gonna shit your pants if you try and go Super Saiyan. There is such a thing as, obviously you've both had an adrenaline rush. Well, there are training methods that can teach you how to use an adrenaline rush before you get the post-rush crash. Most people get an adrenaline rush and they waste all their energy in a flurry of goofiness. You need to be able to delay the adrenaline dump, or much more easily understood and practiced is learn how to use it for the momentary boost that it gives you so that you can defeat an enemy, subdue an enemy, or get an enemy off you long enough for you to get away and be safe. And then you have the crash, and then you're all exhausted. And, what comes after. Because the last thing you want to do is be in the middle of getting mugged by a person with a knife, or two people or more, and have that post-adrenaline rush crash. You're going to get killed. You don't want to get killed. So,
If you die, you lose.
exactly. That is exactly right. As long as you're alive, you haven't really lost yet. So, apparently my girlfriend's boss has convinced her to watch Game of Thrones.
Oh, she never watched it?
No. Neither have I.
She's going to be shocked with the first episode, I can tell you that much.
I say the same thing I said to my brother when he was like, "You don't love Game of Thrones?" No, I'm attracted to women. Why would I watch that?
Awesome. It's surprisingly good, but it's not like there's a lot of problems with it. There's a lot of like bullshit propaganda that got woven into it.
Oh, yeah.
So I've heard.
Progressively more pronounced, like to the like where the last like second to last season, it's like war room, like girl general, eunuch, midget.
Oh,
It's like what?
yay.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm completely comfortable with people thinking that that's what physical conflict is. Because then I can be that guy at the mountain and just come in and be bigger and male and pick people up by their heads and punch them away. Extremely comfortable with that situation. I want them to think their emotions are going to beat my decades of practice and sweat and murderous intent to not die.
There's a scene. There's a mildly amusing scene of this dude telling a joke about the queen, and it wasn't the dragon queen. It was the other broad, the awful one. And he was like saying some nonsense. I'm like, oh yeah, she was like when they had her like walking through King's Landing, just like being shamed. And he was like, she was looking at me and she wanted it. And then he goes off to go to some cloister. It looked like a cloister. It looked like an art museum cloister, like the one that we worked at.
Yeah.
Dude walks over, undoes his pants, and you hear a tinkling. And then you just see the mountain's giant. You don't even see his body. You see his arm first. Just grab this dude by the head, does not stop, and smashes this dude's head all the way into the wall and walks away. Just, bish, walks, blood everywhere. Like, didn't take the time to grab the head, pull it back, and smash it. Just, boom.
Exactly.
Walks away.
You make contact, you release power. That's how it should be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, we're going to pause for a moment. I'll be right back.
Yep.
And we're back. So, to wrap up the discussion, as a short, mid to short range style, Xingyiquan depends heavily on the ability to make contact with the opponent and then to exploit contact once it's made. Connect, keep in contact. Very important skills for those short, close-range styles to have. And all other things being considered, size, strength, aggression, these are the sort of things that actually really will win a fight. Even if you're smaller, even if you're older, even if you're less healthy or less fit, if you really work hard on these skills, this is where you'll win. And other martial arts like Wing Chun are completely built around these sorts of concepts. You know, superior structure, superior mechanics, well-developed skill once in contact. That's how you win fights. And that'll make the difference if you meet somebody with the same level of experience as you or higher. So, any final questions? Any final observations? Anybody?
Got a lot out of this lesson. It was really good.
Yeah, it was good.
Excellent. Excellent. I knew this one would be, you know, as soon as it came up in the DM group, I knew. I was like, oh yeah, we need to have this sort of conversation for one of the videos, because you can't not benefit from it. You know, it's a great topic, and it really is. You know, it's at the core of the martial part of a martial art, especially one like Xingyi that really prides itself on practical usability, real world application. So I'm glad it was beneficial for you guys. It's been fun for me, as you may have noticed from all the times I made crazy eyes during this video, how rarely I've blinked the whole time. I definitely really enjoy this part of martial arts a lot. So yeah.
Links in the description.
Yes. I'll put the links down there for some of the stuff I've mentioned. You know, the rise, drill, fall, overturn. That's in the 8 appearances training method. That's like basic mechanics. 7 fists, 91 strikes. I'll put that stuff in there. All of our links for Twitter, and I'll also throw in the individual who inspired this conversation. So, all right. Kung Fu Discussion Group, Episode 4. Connecting and contacting skills. I'm Uncle Sickness.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, be sure to practice and improve your terrible Kung Fu, everybody out there. All right.
Stupid? No good? With no talent? You shouldn't talk like that. We can fix your problem very quickly.